It was the necklace that gave her away. Nothing else. I found out my husband was cheating because of a necklace. Not his smell, not a text message, not whispers from neighbors. It was a necklace. She wore it to the same market where I bought our groceries, where I have my salon. The same market where everyone knew I was his wife. That morning, I was only looking for tomatoes. He called it a mistake. But it broke me. The market knows everything. In our part of Nigeria, especially here in Karu, Abuja, nothing stays hidden for long. If you cough, your neighbor knows whether it's catarrh or heartbreak. The market is more than a place to buy food. It's where gossip grows. And that day, I didn't expect to hear my name whispered behind my back. That's her. She doesn't know, someone said. And when I turned, they pretended to talk about Yam. Me and Daniel. I met Daniel during NYSC. He was the quiet one in our group. Kind. Respectful. When we got married, I believed I had found a man who feared God and valued his home. We built our life slowly. 1 room. Then 2. Then our first car. We prayed together, laughed together, and I thought we had the kind of love stories were made of. Until this. After that market day, I started watching him. Not like a detective, more like a woman whose soul no longer feels safe. He smiled less. He touched his phone more. He said, "I love you," but didn't look in my eyes. One night, I checked his messages. I didn't find anything. But something still felt wrong. Like I was living with a man I no longer knew. Temptation has a smile. Her name was Tara. Beautiful. Bold. She was new in town, and she worked at a POS shop not far from our street. People said she liked married men, but I didn't want to believe it. Until I saw her laughing too hard at something Daniel said. Until he started coming home late, with no explanation. I asked him straight. "Daniel, are you seeing someone else?" He didn't deny it. He didn't confess either. He just looked at me like I was someone bothering him. "I'm tired," he said. "I don't want to fight." But silence is worse than lies. It made me feel like I wasn't worth the truth. One night, I stayed up. I didn't lock the door. I wanted him to feel what it's like to come home and not be sure if you're welcome. He came back at midnight, reeking of perfume that wasn't mine. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. And in that look, I asked every question I'd been swallowing for months. Web of lies. He started lying badly. I was at the church, he'd say, but I had already passed the church and it was closed. She's just a friend, he'd say, but friends don't leave their earrings in your car. He made a web so messy, even he couldn't keep track. But I remembered every thread. Everyone knew but me. That was the hardest part. Not the cheating. Not even the lying. But knowing that other people pitied me behind my back. Poor Grace, they said. She doesn't know her husband now eats outside. It made me feel small. Like I was the only one still hoping for a future that had already crumbled. I packed my bag one night and said, "Daniel, I'm going home to my parents. Think about what you want." That's when he cried. The same man who had once said, "Men don't cry." He said it was a mistake. That he was confused. That it didn't mean anything. But it meant everything to me. That night, I saw my husband not as the man I married, but as a man called Daniel. A stranger with my husband's face. The same man who once knelt and promised me forever was now begging me to stay, after tearing everything apart. His tears didn't move me. Not that night. Meeting her in person. I never meant to meet the other woman. But one afternoon, she came to my shop, smiling like she didn't just ruin a home. Her name was Chloe. Young. Bold. Full of fake confidence. "You must be the wife," she said. "Yes." "And you must be the mistake," I replied. She left without saying another word. I called my mom that evening. I hadn't told her everything yet. But somehow, she knew. "A woman's pain is often hidden behind a clean house and cooked food," she said. "But don't lose yourself in the process." Those words stayed with me. At church, I broke down during worship. I didn't plan to, but my heart had been holding too much. After service, the pastor's wife called me aside. "Grace," she said, "you don't have to decide today. But whatever you choose, choose your peace first." Daniel's excuses. He wanted to justify his actions. He started giving different excuses why he did what he did. I was lonely. It just happened. She doesn't mean anything. Every excuse made it worse. Because he still didn't understand, it wasn't just about what he did. It was about the part of him that was no longer mine. When I told my sister, she sighed. "Grace, I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but I saw them together weeks ago. I felt betrayed all over again. Not just by Daniel, but by the silence of people who claimed to love me." I started hearing the whispers outside. "That's the woman whose husband sleeps around. She's still with him." In our compound, privacy didn't exist. I began walking with my head low. But inside, I told myself, "You will rise again." Then Daniel started trying to be a father again. He started spending time with our kids like nothing had happened. As if bedtime stories could cover betrayal. Our daughter, Ella, asked one day, "Mommy, why do you and Daddy sleep in different rooms now?" I smiled. "Sometimes, grown-ups need space to think," I said to her. One evening, I got a message from Chloe. Just 2 lines. "He still calls me. Just so you know." I didn't reply. I didn't cry. I just blocked her number and deleted it. That was the day I decided I deserved better, even if I wasn't ready to leave yet. The breaking point. I found a receipt in Daniel's jeans, dinner for 2 at a hotel. The date was just last week. He swore he was done with her. But lies don't die easily. That night, I moved into the guest room. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just packed my pillow and left the space we once called ours. The guest room was cold. Not from the air, but from what it meant. I lay awake, listening to Daniel's footsteps in the hallway. He paused by my door. I held my breath. But he didn't knock. It was the silence that broke me. Not the fights. Not even the betrayal. Just the fact that he was in the next room, and still, I had never felt more alone in my own home. The kids didn't notice at first. I kept up the routine. School runs, lunch boxes, homework. But every time Ella or Junior asked, "Why don't you and Daddy watch movies anymore?" I smiled and changed the subject. When a woman starts forgetting. I forgot to warm his food one night. It was unintentional. But when I remembered, I didn't feel guilty. That was when I knew I had started to detach. I no longer asked where he was going. I no longer waited for him to come home. And when he got back that night and saw his plate still in the fridge, he just stood there, unsure what to say. "You didn't cook?" he finally asked. "I did. It's there," I said, not looking up from my phone. He didn't eat that night. Daniel began to feel it too, the shift. The air was heavier. The greetings were shorter. And even the children seemed unsure how to talk to us when we were together. He started trying again. Bought flowers. Took the kids out. Even cooked once or twice. But love isn't a wound you stitch with gifts. One night, he asked if we could talk. I agreed. We sat on opposite sides of the dining table like two people in a business meeting. "I know I failed you," he said. I looked at him. "You failed all of us." Daniel suggested we see a marriage counselor. "Maybe we can talk things through with someone neutral," he said. I was surprised. Not because of the idea, but because he sounded desperate. Like he was finally seeing the full damage of what he had done. "I'll go," I said. "But not for you, for me. I need to hear myself say out loud that I'm not going mad." We booked a session for Saturday. The first session. The office smelled like mint and paper. The counselor, a calm woman named Mrs. Adams, welcomed us warmly. We talked. Or rather, I did. I talked about the lies, the late nights, the way his phone would always be face down. I talked about how I felt invisible in my own marriage. Daniel listened. For once, he didn't interrupt. When it was his turn, he said, "I didn't think it would go this far. I thought I could control it." Mrs. Adams asked, "What exactly did you think you were controlling? Your cheating, or your wife's pain?" After a few weeks, things started to shift. Slowly. Carefully. One day, Daniel asked if we could go for dinner. Just the two of us. Like a first date, he said. Part of me wanted to say no. But another part, the small voice that still remembered our early days, said yes. We went to a quiet restaurant on the outskirts of Abuja. The kind with soft music and dim lights. For the first time in months, we talked without anger. We even laughed. But I still didn't touch his hand. I wasn't ready. I told my friend Rachel about the dinner. She frowned. "Grace, just be careful. You can forgive him, but don't forget what he's capable of." "I know," I said. But the truth was, I was tired of carrying the hurt every day. It was heavy. I wanted peace. But I also knew peace couldn't come if he was still lying. Then came the confession. It happened during our third counseling session. Daniel broke down. There was more than one woman, he said. My chest went numb. I stared at him. "So you lied during all our sessions?" I was scared you'd leave, he said. I thought if I told part of it, you'd at least stay. That night, I slept in the kids' room. I held Ella close, my tears wetting her little curls. Back to square one. Trust is like a plate. Once it breaks, you can glue it, but the cracks remain. After the second confession, I stopped sleeping well. I started forgetting things again. I'd boil water and leave it on the gas till it dried. I didn't shout. I didn't fight. But I stopped trying. And Daniel noticed. I want to fix this, he said. You should have thought about that before. I stood by the window one night, watching the lights of Abuja flicker in the distance. I asked myself, can love survive this kind of betrayal? Do I stay for the kids? For the years? Or do I walk away and start over? There was no easy answer. But I knew one thing. I didn't want to live the rest of my life feeling like a stranger in my own skin. So I prayed that night, not for my marriage, but for clarity. A few days passed, and Daniel walked on eggshells around me. He tried to act normal, cracking jokes with the kids, offering to help with chores, asking if I wanted anything from the market. But I could see it in his eyes, fear. Not fear that I would hurt him, but fear that I had finally stopped needing him. And in many ways, I had. My mother's visit. My mother came to visit from Kogi. She took one look at me and said, "You've lost weight." I forced a smile. "I'm fine, Mama." That evening, she sat me down in the kitchen. "Is your husband still cheating?" she asked directly. My eyes widened. "Mama, don't act surprised. You're my child. I carried you. I know when you're suffering." I broke down. For the first time in months, I wept freely, my head on her lap like a little girl. Mama didn't offer the usual advice people give. She didn't say, "Forgive and forget," or "Stay for the kids." She said something I didn't expect: "Don't stay silent until your heart turns to stone." It stuck with me. That night, I watched Daniel from the corner of my eye as he cleaned up the dining table. He looked exhausted. But so was I. That night, around 10 p.m., Daniel received a call. He walked outside to take it. He thought I was asleep. But I followed. I stayed by the kitchen window, barely breathing, and heard him say her name, Lilian. "You shouldn't have called me again," he said. "I told you I'm trying to fix things." My heart dropped. So she was still calling. It wasn't over. I waited for him to come back inside. "Who is Lilian?" I asked calmly. He froze. "She's someone I was involved with." "Is it still going on?" "No. I ended it months ago. She just won't let go." "Then why did you step out to answer the call like a thief in the night?" He didn't answer. That silence was louder than any argument we'd had. The next morning, I packed a small bag and told the kids I was going to Grandma's for the weekend. Daniel didn't ask questions. He just watched me, quiet and broken. As I shut the front door behind me, I heard Junior ask him, "Is Mommy angry with you again?" My heart shattered. Mama didn't ask why I returned. She just set the table and brought out soup. "You need strength before you talk sense," she said. I laughed. For the first time in days. Later that night, we sat outside under the stars. If you still love him, fight. But fight with sense. Don't lose yourself, she said. What if I don't love him anymore? Then don't stay out of fear. You deserve a full life. On Sunday evening, my cousin invited me to a women's support group gathering in Jabi. I almost didn't go. But something in me said, you need to breathe. I met women who had gone through worse, some divorced, some healing, some still deciding. But none of them looked like victims. They looked like survivors. I smiled. Not just with my lips, but from somewhere deep inside me. When I got back home that night, I found a folded paper on my pillow. It was a letter. Handwritten. It read, Grace, I don't know how to fix what I broke. I keep failing at showing you how sorry I am. But I'm not giving up. Not yet. I will wait as long as it takes for you to believe again, for you to love again, even if it's not me. I'm here. Whether as your husband, your friend, or just the father of your children. I'm here. Daniel. That night, I dreamt we were dancing. Daniel and I. In our wedding clothes. But every time I looked down, my dress was torn. Dirty. And I couldn't fix it. He kept asking me to dance, but I stood frozen. When I woke up, my pillow was wet with tears. The truth hit me hard. I hadn't forgiven him. Not fully. And until I did, we could never truly move forward. The next morning, I made breakfast. Not just for the kids, but for Daniel too. He looked surprised when I dropped the plate in front of him. I'm not ready to talk, I said. He nodded, carefully. I understand. But I could tell it meant the world to him. It was a small step, but it was something. Facing Lilia. I didn't plan to meet her. She came to my salon. Brazen, like she had nothing to lose. She didn't know I owned the place. When she recognized me, she froze. I didn't come to cause trouble, she said quickly. You already did. She looked down. Then I said the hardest thing I've ever had to say, leave us alone. I saw tears form in her eyes. Maybe she loved him too. But it wasn't her place. I called Daniel that night. I saw her, I said. He stayed silent. She came to my salon. Don't ask how. But I told her it's over. He sighed. Thank you for handling it with dignity. More than I deserve. I agreed. We sat in the backyard one evening, while the kids played inside. I finally asked him, why? He didn't defend himself. He didn't blame me. He just said, I felt lost. I thought I'd already disappointed you so much, I didn't know how to be enough anymore. I listened. And for the first time, I saw him not as a villain, but as a man who had failed. Still not an excuse. But at least, it was the truth. We decided to try therapy. A couples group, held in Gaki every Saturday. It was awkward at first. Speaking in front of strangers. Hearing their stories. But then, I found healing in the shared pain. And in knowing that our story was not unique. We weren't alone. My healing. It was time to focus on me. I started taking early morning walks. I expanded the salon and hired 2 new girls. I joined a women's network in Abuja. Bit by bit, I remembered who I was before the betrayal. Not a broken woman. But a strong one. The kids notice. Daddy is helping you more now, Junior said one morning. I smiled. Yes, he is. And you're not shouting again. Children notice everything. Healing affects the whole home, not just the adults. One night, I found Daniel sitting alone in the dark, crying. I almost lost you, he said. I wake up every day grateful that you didn't leave me. That was the first time I held him in months. No words. Just silence and tears. Sometimes, that's enough. I forgave him. Not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. But I didn't forget. Forgiveness doesn't mean we go back to what we were, it means we build something new. Stronger. Wiser. Today, we laugh more. We eat at the table together. We pray again. Trust is slowly returning, not perfect, but possible. And I've learned that sometimes, love doesn't come from never hurting each other. It comes from healing, when you thought it was over. If you are watching this, I just want to say, don't lose yourself to betrayal. But don't lose hope either. Because even in brokenness, love can still grow. My final message, to every woman going through heartbreak, you are not alone. You are enough. And healing is possible. Sometimes love is not about never falling, but about rising again, together. Thank you for always coming back to watch and support our channel. Your views, likes, and comments mean the world to us and keep these powerful stories alive. What do you think about this story? Was forgiveness the right choice? Could you have done the same? Let us know in the comments, we love reading your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like, it really helps more people discover our channel. Don't forget to share this video with friends or family who would appreciate a meaningful story like this. Click the playlist link in the description to watch more true life African folktale stories, filled with love, betrayal, healing, and hope. And if you're new here, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories. Until next time, stay true, stay strong, and keep believing in love.